Got to put my little face on the screen. Oh, I got to do this first. There we go. You're going up there. Oh, I could just make that smaller. There we go. I guess we don't need to see the full chat. Okay, today has been a super busy day in the Salem brick trials news, and it's a little bit funny. So CB2, who's put out videos today, had made a comment. I don't know if it was on Twitter. I don't remember exactly where it was. Might have been in one of the videos, but he made a comment that all the big stuff came out like all at once at the very end, and oh boy, did it! Lots and lots of stuff all at once at the very end. So, I think when I did something with my camera, there you go. Okay, there you go. I kind of not centered. I want to be on the side here, side of the camera myself. Okay, so there is so much stuff. I'm just gonna get into it and not worry too much about what order it all gets talked about. And I did realize something recently, that I probably should just make this screen bigger and then zoom in, because then I don't have to worry about that side thing. All right. Yeah, so big stuff today. Not the big stuff we were expecting. So we were all kind of hoping and wishing that the TRO in the civil case, being against Brian Mansell, the victim, and Reckless Ben and Victor, BAM is suing them, and there's this gag order that is preventing part 3 from being released, and I'm sure everybody watching this is all up to speed on all of this, but everybody was expecting that to be removed today. That's like, everybody's like, oh, that's gonna be the big news. It was talked about a lot. Even when we heard today's news, everybody was expecting it's gonna be like the next thing that showed up. And the next thing did show up, but it wasn't that. It was something else. So there is so much. So I'm going to start with the first item here, and I think I'm actually going to play through this. Let me just triple check that my my sound is on. How do I confirm that? I think I just remove everything and re-edit. Yeah, there's a strong chance that my desktop sound is not on, so let's go ahead and put everything back up. I gotta move the face again. I did consider getting OBS today. I've spent a lot of my life configuring OBS for various reasons, and I just didn't want to do it again. And I also get annoyed at grabbing the stream keys and like copying them over, and reserving a single stream key for long periods of time and stuff is like, it's a thing. I just am not. A lot of times, if you're not going through a thing that broadcasts and records for you, have to record for yourself. It just really depends on where you're broadcasting to and everything. There's just so much work involved that I don't really want to play with at the moment. So I've been not going through OBS, but the symptom there is I have to redo a couple windows every time. All right, so this here, I'm going to play this, is part of the news today. So there was one of the criminal cases, which I think was Provo, and I believe this was, I don't know, it's written somewhere later. So this case had a WebEx, and there were people who wanted to actually, broadcast it, but they didn't get approved. So people joined the WebEx, and I heard somewhere there was a limit of 1,000, and they hit the limit or something, and people are having trouble getting in. But a lot of people attended, as far as I could see. I did not join in because I said this a couple times, like I just don't know if it's a good idea to have a bunch of randos show up and have the risk of somebody accidentally being not on mute, or leaving their camera open, and they're cooking they've got an offensive shirt, and they've got their phone set up by their their stove, and they and they don't know that their camera's on. Or another case of, I actually read about this in another incident. I actually don't remember where I read this, but it was someone who accidentally left a WebEx meeting on all day, and they were the last person left when this one case came up. And the judge actually called them out and asked if they were involved in the case. They're like, "Oops, nope, sorry, bye, click." So even just the risk of forgetting to turn it off was, I don't know. I just didn't want to spread problems. I know a lot of people joined in, and I guess everything went fine. But anyway, at first, you couldn't record it or anything. So this was a lot of fun. CB2 was talking about putting together a video, and since there wasn't a broadcast of it, we had this crazy idea. I mean, it's his brainchild, but I had so much fun with this. It was his idea. Well, why don't we just record it? And that's what this is.
All right. Do we have... Is Mr. Williams online?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. Williams?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, sir.
Okay. And we've got Mr. Snyder online.
I do believe he's here, yes?
I'm here. We're here on case 261, ending 376, scheduled for a pretrial this morning. Mr. Williams, what's anticipated?
Your Honor, I'm asking the court to give us another pretrial conference date. Mr. Delancino and I entered our appearance on June 24th, and I know that the city has responded to our request for discovery, and I know that we have some. Mr. Delancino and I were in a federal jury trial last week in St. George, and so we've just sort of been getting caught up on what's being provided right now. So if the court could give us a new date, that would give us the chance to go through what our city has provided.
Just the normal course then, Mr. Williams?
I have probably, Your Honor. What is the next available date? Maybe 30 days?
About a month out. Where does Mr. Snyder live? California. Los Angeles. So I'm assuming we need a WebEx. Yes. Okay.
Your Honor, if the court would consider September 1st, will these always be on Tuesdays or on Monday? I apologize.
Monday or Tuesday is fine.
Monday or Tuesday could. If the court has availability on September 1st, and Ben, does that work for you?
Yes. Yeah, that doesn't work for us.
September. Let me go past Labor Day. September 15th, would that work?
September 15th, 11 o'clock, Utah time.
We need fingerprints.
Mr. Snyder, did you do fingerprints? Oh, no. I have to get those done still. Yeah, Mr. Williams, can you work with him and get those submitted?
I will, Your Honor. We'll make sure that's taken care of.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And scene. That was a lot of fun. I am always ready to do those recordings and edit them and play around with them. I've got my Audacity set up and a handful of other tools set up so that I can do those quickly. Why? Well, when I first started doing scary stories, I actually made them up on the spot. And I would have a general, like, beginning and end, but I would just, tell a story, which, it kind of like telling a bedtime story. And that's actually how it started. I told a story to one of my kids and they got scared, and it really wasn't even a scary story. And so I told it to another one of the little kids. They got scared, and then I'm like, oh, this would be fun to record this. And then the next time I just picked some things and I told the story. And so that's how I got started. So I'm actually always equipped to do a recording at a moment's notice. It's just a thing that I do. And I've had various other things I've done for them, including doing Foley, which is like sound effects work. So occasionally I will organize something to make my own sound effects or pull them from somewhere else. So I've got it all just like ready to go at any moment. So I was in. There was actually a recording project I submitted for last night. And so I was like, you know what? I did worse. I did worse within the past 24 hours. So I'm gonna go for this. Okay. So here's where we're at. Right at this moment, this exact moment. If you are watching this video, you don't have enough time in the day to finish watching everything that's come out today. Even if you started 2 hours ago, you still don't. There was a bunch of fairly significant videos just dropped all around the same time. One of them is Dyslexic Ben. Echo Base Network had done an interview with the Gormans. And I haven't got to watch this yet. I'm going to have this queued up for tomorrow. I'll have it running in the background while I'm working. And then there's another video, which I did not link to yet because I haven't even gotten a chance to figure out exactly what it is. But Sheldon put out a new video, and it seems to be him doing commentary, some kind of behind-the-scenes commentary on part one. So Reckless Ben's video part one, which is very interesting. I think he had it listed as director's commentary. I'm not 100% sure what all that entails, because my understanding is that the editing techniques were like, I don't know. This is going off of various interviews, but my understanding is the editing techniques were done by committee, and there's a lot of different hands that went into it. So I don't know if there's an explanation to like what to expect at the beginning. All I know is I didn't know it existed. I was actually doing in the middle of something else. I accidentally clicked into it. And I was like, oh wow, this is Sheldon, and there's a thing that's like director's commentary. What's going on here? So it's interesting. I'm definitely going to queue that up for tomorrow. But there's just so much that hit all at once, that I haven't even got to catch up on everything. But I do get to say that there's all these really cool people in all this. I'm going to be probably this 300th person to say, hey, shout out to Barbecue Counselor. But there's so many people that are like coming together to get the news out quickly through their different channels. And a lot of them have a piece of the news, or a perspective on the news is probably a better word, or some skill set / knowledge base that makes them able to share something more. And then that's helpful. And what's really funny is it's gotten to this point where you've got videos that are referencing the person who's referencing the video. For example, today there was a stream with the DFJ account, who I won't say out loud because this is a family-friendly stream. And so her video referenced Law Understood Simply, who was reviewing her video and saw himself in the video where he was talking about her. And so what I don't understand, or what I'm kind of waiting for in all this, is for like Doc Brown to show up and be like, you can't let them see each other or the whole world will implode at the speed of light, or, or whatever that line was. I actually went looking for it. I couldn't find it. It's a lot harder to find things now that search engines are not really search engines anymore. But anyway, I'm just kind of waiting for this thing, for the universe to collapse in on itself when too many videos are referencing themselves and videos that reference themselves. But this is creating this group of a lot of people who are basically talking about all the different developments from a different angle and then bringing something new. And what's really funny to me is now there's a lot of people that I don't know what they sound like. I only know what they sound like at 2 times speed, because there's a lot of cases where there's this really important thing that happens and it's currently live. How do you catch up? Well, you put the speed on fast and then you go back to cooking or whatever it was that you were doing until you catch up to the live. Or there's lots of cases where there's videos where there's multiple people covering the exact same thing, but some of them have different pieces of information. We're going to run into that tonight. There's going to be some significant things about that tonight. But anyway, that being said, I think it's raining. I thought the dog was walking up to me, but it sounds like it's raining outside. So we're going to come into a couple of those cases of people covering the exact same thing, pretty much racing the clock to be the first one to talk about it, but bringing something slightly different. But yeah, tons of folks out there, EBN being one of them. Toy Bounty Hunters, Last Relic has been doing a lot of great work. CB2, who just has a brand new logo, so if you check him out, he's rebranded all over the place, which is really, really cool. And just lots of other creators. Even so I've seen a couple, like Matty Appleseed, for example. I've seen a couple of his videos, but I didn't know much about him except he wears that funny hat. And so I got to sit into a stream of his for a little bit, and that's when a big piece of news broke, and that was interesting. Anyway, this is the video here, and there's an interview in it. I checked out the basically the chapter titles that are in the description, because I haven't got to watch it yet, but it looks like it covers a lot of topics, and some topics I haven't heard them do an interview on before, so that's neat. And the other thing I really want to mention is I am glad that they chose a different place to do this interview from, because I get really distracted with what's on the walls. And so this is a lot more neutral, so it'll be easier for me not to get distracted. Okay, so anyway, so there was a interview. Oh, no, this is even before we get to that. So Toy Bounty Hunters did a video on what's the big news today. Well, there is a new judge in the federal case. So Salem Brick Trials civil case, the one we talked about earlier, Bam suing the victim, as well as Reckless Ben and Victor. And in that case, I guess because they had requested a specific action in the case, that the magistrate moved it on to a random judge selection. So that's the big update, is that they moved on to a random judge selection. So this video goes over that and actually shows some of the details from various videos. So this really captures a lot of those varying viewpoints and knowledge bases that got brought into it. But it's a good one to go to get a recap. But that actually is not the video that I had went to post when I saw this one, because I was actually in the process of posting about another one of their videos. Another weird thing that happened, and this actually kind of happened, and then I really didn't get a chance to look at it until later. And when I did, I was actually kind of playing with the kids when I was watching through this one, because this Jesse Weber looks familiar. I seem to remember the last time I saw him in anything, I didn't exactly like it. And I know that might be an unfair assessment, but I saw this guy and I was like, I don't know that I like his news, if I remember who he is. So I put it off, and I eventually did watch it. So this contains an interview with Ben, which appears to be, I think, June 5th or possibly earlier is when the interview happened, because they basically spliced in an interview that they had already done. But this was focusing on basically a recap of what's going on in the case. They tried to be way more neutral than most people, which was an interesting approach, being that there's a lot of like hard to believe things that they kind of said with a straight face. and I don't think I've seen anyone say them with a straight face before. I might just leave it at that. Anyway, I am getting sick today, so I'm having to I'm having to hydrate a lot more than normal. Not hydro. We don't know what hydro is, but I do have a update about hydro. I now have a quote hydro blaster. This one of the kids got this for his birthday, and this is a weird manufacturer's name is Guangdong Province, Shantou City, Shanghai District, Yangzhixing, I think it was how it would be pronounced, Toy Factory. That's actually the name of the manufacturer. This is all right there. It's ridiculous. But this is an Orbeez gun. And what I found out is like nobody calls them hydro blasters. It's almost unheard of. So that's what I just learned. I actually, that was my suspicion, is I'd never ever heard of them called that. I had heard gel blasters, but not all that common. And I'd heard Orbeez guns. So I guess gel blasters is probably the more common term, but that's what I just learned. So when they were doing hydro, it wasn't a gel blaster. It was, I've heard a lot of people speculate it was probably hydro dipping of guns because of the context, but still, it was just you shouldn't be on camera saying something weird like that. Like, if you're going to go drink Coca-Cola, don't say it weirdly. Don't. Say we're going to go grab a Coca-Cola. Don't say, oh, I wonder if they sell Mexican Coke. Because, just don't say it on a body cam, honestly. Anyway, real cane. I've never understood that real cane sugar pop thing. Like, oh, I want the real cane sugar. Doesn't that make it worse for you? Well, it's technically better. Well, it's also not good for you. So I gave up soda a long time ago. And I can't understand how I ever drank it, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, this was mostly going over the criminal case. They actually had video of the actual trial, and it was a pretrial hearing, but they had video of the pretrial hearing and the audio from the pretrial hearing, and I have to say that the judge did not do a good impression of himself. Clearly it was a good idea to record it with as a little dramatic recording, because we did a way better accent, a way better impression of everybody in that courtroom than they did of themselves, especially the court clerk or the court assistant, because you couldn't hear a word she was saying, but with the magic with the magic of dramatic reenactments, we were able to figure out what she said. But it does contain it. It is very weird the way that they presented this, because it makes it feel like that was his image in the WebEx, and there's no possible way that was it. But the way that the judge and the lawyer were looking at their camera the entire time, it looked like they were upset with something they saw on the screen. I think that was just, by chance. But this was the picture that they used for Ben in the in the pretrial hearing. Anyway, it was an unusual video, but it's out there, and having an interview that I actually thought wasn't released before, but it sounds like it was a neat little addition there. So the judge was assigned to a new judge. There was also some additional filings. I did see some commentary on it, but a lot of the explanation here is just pretty much self-explanatory. So pro hoc vice, what we've learned is when somebody's from out of state or they can't operate in a specific court, they have to get another lawyer that they work through. So those were approved. There was there were requests to extend the deadline to respond to the complaint. Those were approved. There was some kind of proposed schedule request. I don't fully understand what that is. So very basic things, but what's interesting is it seems like these were signed by the magistrate and entered, and then the magistrate was reassigned. So like these came in after in the order, but they probably took effect first. I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. But it seems like these things were all approved, and then it moved on to the judge. And we know who the judge is. His name is something Barlow, and there's a lot of commentary on that. Barbecue Counselor, I think, has really, really good commentary on it. And he's probably like my joke all day has been it's not news until he talks about it. But or what was the thing I've been saying? It's not hot until he reports on it, or until it's not hot until it's barbecue. So anyway, there's also BJC Live Show also did a video on the news. And in hers, she actually focused on some different aspects. So Barbecue talked more about where he's from, potentially, his history as a judge, and some potential, like, is he friendly to one side or the other? And that's kind of where he was focusing. In BJC's stream, or I'm sorry, it released as video. She talked more about like history and his like, it's not really habits, but like his like normal way of ruling. And one of them is, I guess he's not friendly to ex parte, meaning a single party, temporary restraining orders. And so she went over some analysis of his previous rulings on something, and it was saying that he's very unfriendly to people who look for these ex parte restraining orders. And he asked for very specific reasoning to not have the other side heard before they go into effect. So anyway, at the very least, I know she talked about more, but that was the thing that really stuck with me. At the very least, that seems to be a pretty big thing that I think will come up. So I'm actually, I don't know, I shouldn't make these predictions, but I'm thinking we're going to hear something about the tiara tomorrow. But she did talk about the reason for the change. Barbecue also talked about it. And it seems like because of a specific action that's being taken, and I think this talks about that. Under court policy, the parties filing of a motion for immediate injunctive relief renders the case ineligible for consent to the jurisdiction of the magistrate. So it was like an automatic move to another judge. I don't know what that means, but they explain it. Go to the videos and listen to the smart people. Anyway. Or, you know what? You're all smart people. Go look in the mirror and listen to the smart person. Let's see. So, yeah, that was hers. So CB2 also had a video covering the pretrial hearing. We listened to some of the audio on that earlier, but he has a whole video talking about some of those things. But basically, there was a few things that came out of it. One is the next, and this is from the Reddit. So I actually realized, because I knew this and then I completely forgot. So Awkward Begets Awkward also goes by Chris Reports Things. And that's easier to say. So I'm going to say Chris Reports Things and Chris. Anyway, so Chris Reports Things says that the next case will be on September 15th. Ben needs to go get his fingerprints. Now, I do have a tiny, tiny bit of patience with this, because when I worked on a specific contract that required a certain level of clearance, which I would describe as level 0, so I never really had clearance. But when I went for that, I had to get fingerprints taken, but they had to be done in an exact special way that literally nobody had any clue what I was talking about. So no matter what I did, I just couldn't get anyone to be willing to use the form. And it took a while. There's probably a 911 call from me from that time period, which was so long ago I couldn't even tell you what it was. There's probably a recording of me calling and being like, hey, I'm in this tiny little town. They told me I have to call this number, but sorry, apparently it's emergency services. Please let me in the door. Like, you were supposed to call the number for the station, but the number for the station forwarded me to 911. It was so silly. But yeah, eventually someone came in and told me I can't do fingerprints. So there's a chance that he's actually having trouble, and I wouldn't be surprised. But there's a more likely chance that he's being reckless, and if he's being reckless, then his fingerprints are all over this, aren't they? Sorry, bad joke. Never mind, I'm not sorry. And this tells you which case it was: Provo versus Snyder, disorderly conduct, trespassing one. And this would be the one, I think, when he went to visit the headquarters, maybe. But yeah, there was just updates from the case, and Chris Reports Things also was the one that typed out the transcript. And I did check; the transcript was not exact, but it was really close. So I think he typed that out live, and he did a really good job. It is possible that it was gotten through another source. There's a lot of note-taking apps out there. In fact, one of the law tubers is literally like its sponsor. I actually forget which one it is. It's probably Clearly Established, but I don't remember exactly. One of them, a note-taking app, is their like in-video advertisement. Speaking of in-video advertisements, today's video is brought to you by whoever made this measuring tape. Do you measure up to the no, I'm kidding. I should do fake ads just every so often. That would be fun. Not fake abs. I've got a very real beer belly, but I don't have fake abs. Let's see. Okay, and it was so. This is something I just found this funny. It was on Matty Appleseed's stream, and I don't know how often he streams. I actually haven't seen it popped up before. This was the first day I saw it. I just stumbled into it. But he was on stream when the person who manages the BAM map started talking. And I don't remember where it all started, but eventually it got like shared between a whole bunch of different like communities. And then it hit here. And so basically this stream was the one that like broke the news that the judge had changed. And again, everybody was expecting, okay, well, we got a judge. We're immediately going to get that TR removed. Like everybody is like hanging on every word until that happens. This was the one. And yes, of course, I made a joke about he's filling the story to the brim. Yes, I did. Of course I did. I'm always going to make a joke like that. No cap. But I don't think he saw it right away. He had to like come back to it. But he was going over some really interesting things. It looks like he's got a lot of information on old franchisees, and I think he's going to start reaching out to see if he can get more information. I actually don't cover a lot of Matty Appleseed's videos because a lot of times there's a claim that's not immediately backed up the same way other people do. So I try to focus on, here's a video and I'm commenting on the video, or here's a 100% confirmed piece of information, or corroborated enough piece of information. I kind of go from that, but I don't want to do original research because I will be wrong if I try that. So I want to comment on a video. So if somebody else talks about it and they say it with some proof, then I think it's valid to talk about. And it feels like his other videos, he's been doing things where there's an amount of proof, but it's not corroborated enough. And so a lot of times I don't link to his. I kind of wait till somebody else picks it up and has done a verification on it. So I was really surprised to see the amount of like new stuff that was coming in. And it looks like a lot of people were really contributing to like, oh, hey, here's this other tidbit of information. Let me help you out. Now, one of the things I learned on Matty Appleseed's stream is that he 100% is as chaotic as I believed him to be. I was, for a period of time, I was like, oh, maybe it's an act. Maybe he's playing a character. But we got to see like his Gmail. I don't think he knew really that he was sharing like his whole screen. We got to see a lot of things. He was like kind of clicking through, doing research right then and there. And I do have to say, I appreciate that somebody else has been dealing with Quora and their spam emails for a very long time, because based on the text of the email that I saw, he's probably been on Quora for over 10 years, or at least over 5 years. And basically the way it rolls up that email, I'm pretty sure that's only people who've been there for a long time get those emails. So I appreciate that someone else has been managing that spam by ignoring it for a very long time too. Anyway, it was chaotic. It was exactly what I expected. It was a lot of fun, but I only got to see up to a certain point, and I luckily just happened to tune in when the big news broke. And when the news broke, there's actually a few filings that all hit at the same time, and then after that, all of those other smaller ones hit. I want to say like 30 minutes later, and those all just kind of trickled in. But they weren't significant enough. I didn't see anyone kind of stop to talk about them. Let's see. Some of the other stuff that's been happening is people have been talking about that Sarasota, Florida, former franchisee who had, current franchisee who had put out a statement about basically joining together. People keep saying like unionizing or forming a union or group bargaining or some sort. And I don't know what's accurate in that statement, but they apparently are joining some kind of group organization. I know that there was a petition that was floating around at one point, and I think it was a couple of brickheads that shared it. That was the part that was really weird, because the petition didn't even mention the company, let alone any detail of the case. It was very generic. So it didn't seem like the petition was legit. But it came from a couple of brickheads, so everyone was really trusting it. And it kind of didn't really get mentioned a whole lot after that. So we know that there was potentially a petition floating around. It sounds like there's more conversation happening. Now, I don't know how many have signed up. There's been numbers thrown around like 100. But it sounds like 100 have reached out, but we don't know how many. And IABAMF is the thing. And I found the logo at one point, and there is an actual website for it. But one of the things is you have to pay dues, or at least according to one of the streams that had covered it. So how many of them are paying the dues, have joined in and paid up on dues? I don't know. I keep saying dues. I am a fan of Scooby-Doo, so I do say dues a lot. I actually like Scrappy-Doo, and I'm sorry that I said that, but I actually like Scrappy-Doo. But and here's the other thing. I am and have always been a fan of the song Strangers in the Night, so Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Anyway, I don't know how many of them paid the dues, and I don't know how many have actually joined. So it sounds like potentially 100 or so stores are communicating, and a number of them that is greater than 0 has joined this IABAMF. It does bring something else into light for me personally, which is I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Samuel L. Jackson, if I say Samuel Jackson, it implies that really funny skit from, it was actually just like a bit part of another skit, I think, from Dave Chappelle. But Samuel L. Jackson's whole thing about BAMF, I think he should say something and be like, no, you're not. You are not one. I get to say who's a BAMF and who isn't. I think that would be really funny. Will it ever happen? Probably no. But that would be hilarious. I am hoping beyond hope that Samuel L. Jackson makes some funny statement about that, or because it is. I don't know how many people know this. I think any Star Wars fan knows this, but I don't know how many people outside of like big time Star Wars fans know this. So the story is that when Samuel L. Jackson was, can I show this without it showing inappropriate words? Okay, well, anyway, the story is when Samuel L. Jackson was being considered for Mace Windu. He got thrown out the window, but Mace Windu, when he was being considered, he said he wanted a purple lightsaber, and they're like, it's only blue or green, and he's like, oh, I want it to be purple. That's the story. I don't know if that story's true, but that's the story. Also, the story is that they wrote BAMF on his lightsaber. So now I'm actually seeing a summary here that's saying it was just BMF, but I've always heard it the other way. Anyway, yeah, that it was supposed to be engraved on his prop. Yeah, I'm seeing this. So here's all the different results here. So everything here is saying BMF, but I've always heard it was BAMF. Anyway, it would be funny if he came forward and said something. And it is Star Wars, adjacent. So that would be really, really funny. Anyway, yeah. So there was more, not just the statement and that organization is the news. There's actually been a little bit more to this. That in the Facebook posts, so that the post was removed, and they put out another statement like, "Hey, we had to remove this thing," and then everyone's like, "Oh, it's AI," and that's actually what Diet Water is sharing here, and it's got emojis in it. It's got it probably has M dashes. Yep, there's an M dash. Everyone's like, that was AI, and so they were getting some criticism, and then so they responded to this, and I think those responses are potentially in this thread. But essentially, what came out of it is they said, "Hey, we complied with a request to remove the post." Somebody basically asked, "Why did you get rid of the original post?" This is while they're like talking about that, and they're like, "Oh, our messaging's not consistent." Eventually, somebody asks, and they're like, "Oh, we were complied with a request to remove." They heavily implied that they were told by corporate, but they never actually said that. So there is a small chance that maybe the organization that they were joining said, "Hey, don't talk about us. We don't talk about Fight Club, Brick Club. Nobody talks about Brick Club." But it's also most likely that corporate told them they have to take it down. So that actually was part of that conversation there. So this story just kind of went a little further. And it's actually, I think it's the first time we've gotten any real validation that any kind of censorship was from corporate. And again, it's not 100% validation. To me, this is one of those cases where it's not really corroborated, but it's interesting. It is newsworthy that they said this. So that's for sure. But yeah, this is interesting. This is continuing. Oh, I see. The barbecue counselor is in the chat. And on Rumble. Excellent. Yeah, the chat is way better on Rumble. That is a complete opinion. It's up to other people's interpretation. But I troll some channels, and I strongly prefer the Rumble chat because the people that show up there are usually way more fun. And yes, you can conversate back and forth by watching what's on the stream. So anybody who's showing the chat, you can say one thing in YouTube, and then Rumble can react to it, and it is so much fun. But it's it just seems like the conversations you get on Rumble are more genuine. And yeah, the features are a little different. I think there's a reply button, and I really like that. But it's also easy to get to people's channels, which is pretty awesome. And then you can just follow people real quickly. So if you're on Rumble, you can go to Barbecue Counselor, click on him, and follow. It's really easy. It's awesome. I don't remember exactly how you do the channel chat, like how you pick your channel for chat. So anyway, there's some stuff there, but you can chat as the channel that you're logged in as, is I think how it works, and people can use that as a way to find you. So I love being on the Rumble chat when I get the choice. And I see, okay, we are taking a jaunt onto a YouTube video because everybody needs to know about this. Ah, that's awesome. Signed up just to watch me. I say this, actually, I haven't said this in the last couple streams, but I say this every time. If you stream somewhere else, also stream to Rumble, because it's, actually, there's a huge reason for it. I usually say, oh, there's no, it's not that hard. Just add it. It's easy to do. But no, there's actually a huge reason for it. There's a ton of people that get suddenly banned from YouTube or suddenly banned from another platform, and they generally get their backups from Rumble. So if you stream anywhere, also stream to Rumble, because you will probably save everything that you will eventually lose in life and on the other platforms. Now, I don't know, there's probably a chance that it'll never happen to you, but I don't know. I don't think it's worth the risk. Okay, so this is what we're going to watch. If you know what this is,
Hero Quest is the best game ever made, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. The best.
That's not me. Although I think I could potentially do a convincing Australian accent. But yeah, that's not me. I've had that, people say that several times. So one of the biggest, I think, snubs in the world is that when Hasbro re-released Hero Quest, they didn't get this guy to do stuff. Like, they should have sought him out. And my understanding, he lives in the U.S. now. I think within the 10 years that this thing's been filmed, he moved to the US. But and why I believe he was in Australia at the time of the filming is because his video right before this, he had received like the Australian version of another set of something. But okay, so why did I bring this up? I'm going on a tangent. Let's skip to, I have this book.
Shouted down by key luminaries of the era, such as Prince, Bob Hawke, and Reggie Bennett. Now it turns out that this was a cracking reboxing all along. But is a single reboxing enough to cover the grand majesty of Hero Quest? No, sir. No, it is not. And that means it's time for another cracking unboxing of Hero Quest. Let's get started. Oh, the best thing about Hero Quest is the inside of the box. Look at these cracking instructions for heroic miniature assembly. What with clear pictures and words, by God.
And we're going to skip.
The gargoyle can stand up, and that's without needing to get the broadsword.
Broadsword.
A barbarian best.
So in that commercial, they mispronounce a ton of stuff. Now, if you press 7, so we're going to go ahead and press play.
Myself.
Broadsword.
Broadsword.
Fire of Wrath.
The best thing about Hero Quest is rolling to move.
Broadsword.
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 So occasionally you'll see in the chat of any Hero Quest thing that a bunch of people just say 77777. Broadsword. And guess what I got? Oh boy, where did I put it? It's probably over here. I have the game named sort of kind of after this thing, Broadsword, which is an excellent game. Alex Kobian is the guy who wrote it. He does an excellent job. We got a ton of indie creators involved. So awesome game. I have like all the books from all the Kickstarters. This isn't all of them, it's just the ones in my hand. Anyway, so if you say 7, that is what I will. That's what I will immediately pop up. Yeah, and I actually have. I think I have Hero Quest in the bottom down here anywhere. Anyway, so I see the okay. Say something about Ben. Which Ben? So okay, back to where we were. Related to the Sarasota location, yeah. So they made that statement. They had to take it down. They put out a statement about taking it down, which is kind of like pro corporate, and then people argued with them and whatnot. So it was really interesting that story kept going. All right, so this is the case, and we're kind of going backwards here. But so Chris reports things, which is what I'm going to say instead of that really hard to say awkward phrase. So he actually was talking about this leading up to it. And here's an interesting thought. And I've been wondering about this all day, because he said he tried to get media privileges into the pretrial hearing, and they said no. And he actually explains at a certain point, he's like, he tried to appeal it, and it's really annoying because he has like a journalism degree, and if you go to his I don't know if it's pronounced coffee or Ko-fi, but if you go to his link on one of these, yeah, there it is right there. You'll see how he explains he's got this gently used journalism degree and whatever, and so he was a little frustrated with that. So when I saw the what was it called, Law and Crime Network, I was like, hey, was that Court TV? That was the first thing that popped in my head, is like, oh, that must be Court TV. Because they actually had requested to get into the civil case at one point, and it actually appeared late. It looked like they were late to the game on it, but it actually just didn't get into the docket until later. But yeah, he was actually trying to get this streamed. There is a possibility that there was a news organization out there that did get a chance to stream it, but I don't know. I could go looking at the documents, but I get really confused on the criminal trials. There are documents to go look at. Specifically, he keeps copies of them, and he tries to keep them updated all the time. And if you want to support that, he has, again, his Ko-Fi thing that you can donate to. But that has been super helpful. And he's also the one that did the transcript. And I do have to say that the most fun thing I did today was the Ben Snyder impression, because in the one audio, or actually I think there's 2 audios that have been released that people have listened to prior to today, he doesn't answer questions normally. He answers them, yes. And I think I know why. I think somebody told him, don't say yeah, because yeah is rude in the South. I'm assuming Utah is the same, that they want to hear that S sound. When I was told that, I also overcorrected. I had gotten a job in the Deep South, and somebody told me a few things like, get a haircut, you hippie, and always say the S and yes. So what I did from that point on was yes. Hearing somebody else do it is the funniest thing. Apparently it must have been funny when I did it, because it's funny when he does it. So I really appreciated this, especially when there were little cases of yes and Los Angeles. And then when I heard the actual audio and he did that, oh man, it's been a good day. I think it's been a good day. It's been a stressful day, but a good day. I'm so happy he typed out the unofficial transcript, because that has been a source of so much joy today. Okay. Yeah, so we did talk about the results of the pretrial hearing. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, so I think I shared maybe 3 or 4 different sources on it. But even then, when I said sources here, according to several reports, that wasn't even the sources that I ended up sharing. It just got talked about a lot. And I'm trying to remember exactly what was going on. I know BJC Live Show kind of stopped her stream. She didn't stop. I mean, she went silent and joined the WebEx and just kind of typed it out. And that was pretty funny. And then I think some other people covered it. But we found out from a lot of different sources, like immediately after what happened. And a lot of people have been talking about it all day today. New memes. I found so DFW, who I'm not going to say the whole name out, because this is a family friendly stream, except for that stupid photo that I showed a minute ago. Lots of good memes have been coming in. I'm going to keep this thread updated, but this was funny. On her video, she had it cut together with the song, and I appreciate a good pun. This was a good pun. Yeah. It's living rent free, or possibly rent for mileage in my head. This is pretty funny. So what was the video? So she had, DFW, or not DFW, DFJ. Did I mess that up? Yeah, it is DFJ. So she had done another video about Tattle the bird. She is telling Tattle's tale. And it is interesting because I personally, there's a lot of things here like, does it cross a boundary? Is it something that like I personally don't want to talk about? Or is it something I don't think is relevant? There's a lot of cases like I just don't talk about something. I don't post about something, whatever. The story of Tattle was the parakeet that was in the Kaiser store, the Salem store, that it went to an uncertain fate. So that story, I really didn't put a lot of stock into. I guess if it was a chicken, I'd put some stock into it. But anyway, so the parakeet just didn't seem like it was going to, be a meaningful story, because there's also some questions I have about what happened that are much more innocuous. But the story of Tattle is basically when the hostile takeover. Now, we would say termination until the actual corporate started telling us it's a hostile takeover. So when the hostile takeover happened, they were like locked out of the building. And so the story I believe that the Gormans had told is that they were in a sedan and they didn't have room for the cage. They couldn't take the bird. And they were expecting the employees to take care of the bird and potentially get it later. But remember, they were leaving the country. So were they even able to take the bird? It is an interesting question. They may have not been able to. So I have questions there. There might be answers, but again, it's a story I don't follow a whole lot. But here's the thing that has become a very, very big issue, and I've seen a couple streamers talk about it. So Law Understood Simply and DFJ have both talked about this, that the plan to not return the bird in and of itself is insane. So that means that they locked her out of the store and never intended to give her the bird back. So if everything they say is true, that they took the bird to a no-kill shelter, then they never intended to give the bird back. And that is such a weird element to this story. Why would you never want to give the bird back? I don't understand that kind of mentality. I'm honestly just tracking my brain for, like, is there a similar story I can possibly think of? The closest thing I can think of is this local store where there was a cat running around in the building and they didn't want to get rid of the cat. But everything in there smelled like cat pee. They really should have gotten rid of the cat. That's the only thing I could think of even remotely close. And it's kind of the opposite, that a stray cat got in the building and they didn't want to get it out. I've not heard of a story like this before. But this idea that they didn't, that telling her to come get the bird was not the easiest solution. It implies that they didn't want her back in the store for bad reasons. I know that that's not proof of anything, but just the idea that they wouldn't, I'm going to say something really stupid and everyone's going to go, aha, but they wouldn't take the easy route. They had to choose a hard route. Now, I do have questions. Let me see if I might have some screenshots. It might just be this one here. Yeah, I got a couple screenshots just to go over here. But basically, the CEO of BAM Franchising said that they took the bird to a no-kill shelter. But the thing is, that there didn't seem to be time. It seems like the cage was thrown away the next day. And so there's pictures going around of it being loaded into a truck. It looks like it's Joshua Johnson's truck. So JJ was there and took the cage to the trash, is supposedly what happened. One question I have, because I know that when you have a young animal, like a young dog, or I'm sorry, a young cat, transferring the kitten in a box is actually not uncommon. So you adopt the kitten and you get the box and then you put it in, wherever it's going to live. You set up all of his stuff. But if you have to take the kitten to the vet, you put him back in the box. That's not uncommon. So did they put the bird in a box and put it in the cab of the truck and then put the cage in the bed of the truck? That's one of the questions I have, because that's actually a possibility. However, they should be able to answer, okay, then what shelter did you take him to? And it does just seem... I've had to rehome I know this is not the same thing, but I've had to rehome a bearded dragon before, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. And there's a whole thing where, like, they needed all the equipment. It took some time to find one that would take him. It took some... I don't remember if we gave a donation or however it was, but when we rehomed the bearded dragon, it was, of course, his name was Yoshi. But when we homed the dragon, it was, you know, this ordeal. So I have just at least some knowledge of going through that. And if somebody, because we have another, exactly literally another case where we had a different lizard. Basically, a relative had got it for one of the kids and was keeping it at their house. We brought it to our house. At a certain point, we realized that, you know, potentially that kid just wasn't going to take care of the animal like they promised to. And a friend was like, "Oh, sweet, we'll take it." And so we rehomed it to a friend, and it was significantly easier to rehome to a friend than it was to find a shelter. And so why choose the hard route is another question I have. So if everything that all of the questions, hypotheticals I put into place are true, why choose the hard route? That just seems weird to me. So this is a more significant story than I thought it was, and I guess I'm glad that there's some persistence behind it, because justice for Tattle. I did joke today, what if JJ fed the bird to to Chonkers the cat, and so I think there's going to be this narrative of like Chonkers the cat is where they hide evidence or something, which is kind of funny because he's a fat cat. Now I know that when every time Chonkers is brought up, so in when they raided the Airbnb, the cat that was seen in the footage of that's what people call Chonkers, and I might be able to find him in that meme thread, because I tried to keep. There he is. It's such a silly little detail because there's so much ridiculous, like everything is going around the cat is bad. Like they're raiding the Airbnb looking for Legos, and there's just a cat sunbathing. So I think he's going to become this character in this story. If we were to make a Reno 911 AFPD, Chonkers would be a character. Anyway. So the other screenshot I wanted to talk about, so this is old. I actually went back to one of my streams to find this because you can't get to this anymore from Google Maps. But one of the reviews, this actually was the top review at the time I checked it, which I think was June 3rd, was when I checked this. So basically this was the top review. So if you went there, you saw this. And I thought that they were being rude to Crystal. I thought that was, you know, they're being mean to Crystal Gorman. Now, my understanding is that she didn't know. I don't know if this is the manager. To be considered a local guide, you just have to do a certain number of reviews and get helpful ratings. So a lot of people are local guides. So I don't think that's an indication of one thing or the other. But somebody named Amanda put out an update as if that person were the store manager. So I don't think it's definitive that this is the store manager, but it sounds like it. And gone are the days of the surly bird lady. I don't think they knew each other. So she was told to write this. And then, okay, they're not just being mean to Crystal. Is this them talking about how much they hate the bird? Because I think this could potentially be some more of like, okay, well, this is why they chose, you know, a harder path than saying, hey, come get your bird. I know potentially it just shows that like there was this needless animosity, and it is so weird that this review existed. I don't understand why this review existed. Anyway, and it's not clear when this happened. It said edited 7 months ago. So if this were June 3rd, then that would have been maybe November of 2025 is when it was edited, but I don't know how old it was. And I don't think I had more of this to see any other history to it. This is just what I had on my stream that I could take a screenshot of. Okay. And I think that's probably the end of the new stuff. That is the end of all the new stuff today. It has been a busy day, and again, we're missing one thing. We didn't talk about Sheldon because I didn't go through and watch the video yet or link to it, which I will do tomorrow because I really am curious about finding out more about it. But yeah, today has been a crazy news day with everything happening all at the end. And I don't know. I think regardless of how the day went and how weird it's been, it has been a good day. And I think that we're kind of proving out that the communities are coming together in ways that are very fascinating for pop culture. I did spend a little bit of time trying to think through what other pieces of pop culture did we see that were like this, and I can't think of a case that matches. I can think of a lot of ones that got people fired up, a lot of ones that got people talking, things that got people, to do things. For example, I may not have it here, I own the Tiger King autobiography. Why do I own it? Because the first page, if you ever open that thing up and see the first page, if I had it, I would open it up and I would read the first page. It's absolute gold. I opened it up and I read the first page and I knew I had to have it. But yes, it got people moving and talking, but it didn't get people like this story does. And it definitely didn't connect people across like political divides. It didn't connect people across fandom divides. Although fandom isn't as big as like more general, like where your heart is where you put your money. And I know I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent on this, but you can see people go on cruises and go, oh man, that's crazy. It's so lucky that they afford cruises, or I can't believe that they would spend their money on cruises. However you view that, if you don't go on cruises and you see somebody that does, you're like, well, how do they do that? Well, the answer is the same way you do the thing that you spend your money on. If you play Warhammer, you're broke. But if you do something like you like to fix cars, and you put your money into fixing up your cars and customizing your cars, and other people will look and say, how do you get the money to do that? Well, it's because that's where your heart is. That's the thing that you're interested in. That's what you're going to put your money into. If you've got bookshelves full of RPGs, if you've got hobbies and board games, you got tons of board games, whatever your hobbies are, you make your money fit into it. And it's not just hobbies, it's also like what you think is, normal. There's this whole thing of what's normal to you is kind of what moves how you do things and how you see things. But there's this there are a lot of things where people's time is also put into it. So it's not just your money, but it's also your time. So you spend your time on the things that are important to you. I spend my time on a ridiculous number of children. I spend my time on various things. I like to write as a hobby. I especially like to write tabletop RPGs as a hobby. So I put time into it, and other people can look at that and go, wow, I can't believe you put so much time into making something like that. How do you do it? Well, you kind of nerd out on something. And so there's a bunch of people that nerd out on different things that see something different, and this brings them together. And there's so many things I see that I don't really like, I don't want to say the word report, but I don't really report on because they just, as I've said before, there's preferences, there's certain boundaries that everybody's a little bit different. I really don't judge anybody on what they really want to cover on this story or not, or what they think is is going to be an interesting thing to watch and talk about in this story. But there's a lot of little pieces I just don't talk about. And one of them was there was a group that did demographics on who is engaged in the story. And here's the really funny part. It was generally I think it was 70% men between the ages of 35 and 45, I think was what the numbers they came up with. And it had to do with certain like interests. And that's like, it was fascinating. Like it was like mostly that. And it's so weird to me that there's not other demographics that are just as plugged in. And there are plenty of people that are not within that are plugged in. And I think as things come in, the story of Tattle gets a new group of people. And some of the commentary that's coming out now is like, well, I think DFJ said something like, just wait until the animal rights people get involved, or just wait until the animal lovers get involved, however that was phrased. And that's interesting because that is going to be a completely different group of people, but they're going to come into this and they're going to see that everybody's getting along, and it's going to just blow their mind. So that's really cool. I know I talked about the first schism of the Reformed Church of Lego here, that there was some disagreement on some numbers, and everybody had their first schism, but it, like, not really. Everybody still gets along and is super happy. I'm not even going to mention, because I talked about a channel that got something wrong yesterday. I'm not even going to mention them again. I'm going to forget that they exist, and then tomorrow we're all going to get along again, because this is this wild story where different groups are getting along, and it's bridging so many gaps that you never expected to bridge. There are a lot of really funny little realities going on in all this. Like, there are actually avenues where politics could come into this story, and there's just so much resistance to it, because that's not really, to a certain extent, this is a kind of a human interest story, but also like a big pop culture story, and it doesn't fit a thing that's divided on certain lines, like a lot of other stories are. And the other thing that's really, really crazy about this story is there is definitely, in any story that comes up, there is a hard line of where it just becomes black and white, where one group is like, no, this is what happened, and the other group is like, no, this is what happened. And yes, there's different distributions of what happens in those groups. So like 20%, this is what happened, and 80%, no, this is what happened. Or maybe 50-50 split. This is one where most people come in and they have these instant realizations, like, Ben did some dumb things. This is really stupid. And then the next realization comes, and they're like, holy crap, I cannot believe the bad guys did all this. And when I say bad guys, like, I cannot believe there's a guy with a curly mustache that looks like he just tied someone to the train tracks in this story. Why would that exist? Why would anybody have a curly mustache? That is the most insane thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. Why would you do it? And that you come in and you see these, like, oh wow, this thing and that thing, and oh no, the police did something wrong. And if you're the true crime person, you're like, oh, there's all these other stories this reminds me of. So you come in and the groups come together, and that's cool, and I like that. So anyway, everybody coming in for the first time, welcome to the party. In fact, I want you to imagine the clip from Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. Because it has been a party. It has been a big party, and people are having so much fun. And I joked yesterday about this ice cream being, oh, I've got the scoop. But like literally nobody cares. There's some cases where people are like getting to the story first, and some people are getting to the news faster than other people. Like, okay, great. But it's actually a serious need to get the story to the next person so that they can give you more of it. There's a serious dash to not sit on a story and say, I'm going to be the first person to this, like you would see in other stories. There is a serious need to get the piece of information you had to somebody who can get it to more people. And that's also really fascinating. There is this sense of urgency, which is just absolutely fascinating. So anyway, I think I've gone long enough on this. This has been, like I said, a very fun day, a very busy day, lots of stuff. Definitely had most of the fun making this or helping make this audio. That was, oh man, this came out of nowhere. It was so much fun. I actually had some other things come up today on projects that I haven't got to work on in a very long time, and so they just happened to all kind of coincide at the same time. So it's been a fun day. But yeah, I think we've talked through all the things for today, and thank you everybody for joining and having fun. And once again, the pitch. And swing and a miss. No, kidding. Once again, the pitch on Rumble, it is a great place to be. It's getting better every single day. I found just yesterday found a feature that I didn't know existed, and I haven't got to check it out today, but I'm really excited to check it out. But they are improving it all the time, and they are active on Twitter, looking for people with problems and fixing it. It's really, really cool. The people in charge are like there talking to you every day, and it's so neat. So if you do stream somewhere or upload videos, consider putting on Rumble. If you have hobbies, consider coming to Rumble and uploading videos, especially to help preserve all of those cool little pieces of information that because you never know when it's a dying art. there's a lot of really cool things out there that you would not believe. Certain ways of running looms, certain ways of doing different, like certain ways of darning socks that are going extinct because people don't do it anymore. So preserve those somewhere, and this is a great place to do it. But with that being said, I am going to call it for tonight. So thank you everybody for watching. That's really funny that this ticked over to that screen right as I said that. So I'm going to take that as a sign to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.